Hola, y aquí tenemos una presentación de los complementos directos e indirectos. También puedes decir objetos directos e indirectos. Both ways are talking about direct and indirect object pronouns. What are they? When do we use them? What do they look like in Spanish? And where do they go in Spanish sentences? Okay, so as you're watching the video, make sure that you take notes in your Spanish notebook. I will be checking those in class the next day, so make sure that you have notes on direct and indirect object pronouns and a few example sentences as we go along. And then also make sure you fill out the Google form and submit to receive credit for watching the video. After this tutorial, you'll see there are 2 YouTube videos. Those are not required to view. I just added them just in case you wanted to see those. They're right there on this tutorial. Okay, so we will get started with objetos directos or complementos directos for direct object pronouns. Okay, so first of all, el complemento directo. We're going to ask, what is a direct object? First of all, let's identify what that is before we get started. So the direct object is the object that receives the action of the verb. So we know in a sentence normally we have a subject, verb, and an object. The subject is doing the action. The object is receiving the action of the verb. So after the verb, it answers the questions whom or what. So, for example, we have a Spanish sentence here, la familia observa la costumbre. So the family observes, we ask the question, what? The answer is the custom, so the custom is the direct object. Él besa a su novia. He kisses whom? His girlfriend. So his girlfriend is the direct objects. And then we have Alicia visita a su padrino, meaning Alicia visits whom? The question, the answer is, oh, it says Luis. Sorry, it should say su padrino. I don't know who Luis is, sorry. Anyway, she visits who? Her godfather, not Luis. Anyway, godfather is the direct object there. So you can see that direct objects can be things or they can be people. In our first example, costumbre is a thing. And then girlfriend and godfather are both people. So it could be one or the other. Okay, so what is a pronoun then? So direct object pronouns replace nouns used as direct objects. It's that simple. Pronouns replace nouns. So here are our example sentences. La familia la observa, which means the family observes it, referring to la costumbre. So somewhere along the line you already referred to la costumbre. You don't need to keep saying that over and over and over. That would be very, very redundant. So you can just say the family observes it. In Spanish we say la familia la observa. Another example is él la besa, meaning he kisses her, his girlfriend. Alicia lo visita, meaning she visits him, her godfather. Okay, so since they were mentioned before, we can replace them with direct object pronouns. So what you see there in red are the direct objects and the direct object pronouns. So what do they look like in Spanish? So if I am the direct object of something, if you see me, I use the word me. If I see who, you, I would use the word te. If I see it masculine, I would use lo, or it feminine would be la. That could also be him or her, depending on if you're replacing people. If someone sees us, we would say nos. If someone sees you all in Spain, if we were referring to someone as vosotros, and we'll get more into vosotros later on this week, so you would use os. And then the next one would be los and las. So if someone sees them, masculine, los, them, feminine, las. Okay, so where do they go in a Spanish sentence? What's the position of the pronouns? So they have to go before a conjugated verb. Every single sentence should have a conjugated verb in it. If you don't have a conjugated verb in your sentence, you've done something wrong. You must have a conjugated verb. So you can always put the pronoun before the conjugated verb. So for example, here's the question, ¿Me llamas este fin de semana? Are you going to call me this weekend? No, no te llamo. No, I'm not going to call you, or I'm not calling you. Next set says, ¿oyes la música? So do you hear the music? And you say, no, no la oigo. So no, I don't hear it. Next one is él ama a su nieto, and says sí, lo ama. And our last example is nos bromeas, which is are you kidding us? And then we would say no los bromeo, no, I'm not joking, and the los there would be you all. Okay, so I'm not kidding you all. So you can see that every single one of those sentences has the second sentence, the answer rather, has a conjugated verb, every single one. So we put the direct object pronoun before it. Can't go anywhere else in that sentence. Okay, however, sometimes we do have sentences that have a conjugated verb and an infinitive. They're used in the same sentence. So oftentimes when we say we can do something, we want to do something, we're going to do something, those are helper verbs, and they will be followed up by the infinitive. So if that's the case, then you can put the direct object pronoun either in the, okay, sorry, I just got interrupted, so I had to hit pause. So where was I? Oh yeah, so if you have a sentence that has if you have a sentence that has a conjugated verb and an infinitive, you have choices. You can always put the direct object pronoun before the conjugated verb, or if you don't want to do that, you can attach it to the infinitive. So let's look at a couple examples. Example number 1, we're saying Pablo wants to kiss her. So her is our direct object. He wants to kiss who? Her. So we have two options. We have Pablo la quiere besar. Okay, which quiere is our conjugated verb, besar stays in the infinitive, la goes before it, the conjugated verb. Or we could simply say Pablo quiere besarla, and you can attach la to the end of the infinitive. So a lot of people like to do the second example, the quiere besarla, because then it follows English word order. You're word for word, you're saying Pablo wants to kiss her. The other way, you actually have to think of the direct object before the verb, which can be tricky. So another example is I'm going to call you. So we have ir plus a plus the infinitive, talking about what we're going to do in the future. So it says te voy a llamar or voy a llamarte. So our te is our direct object, so I'm going to call who? You. So we can put it before voy, or we can attach it to the infinitive. And then the next one says we can't see you all today. So if you all is mixed company, if it's boys and girls, it would be los. Okay, so we can't see who? You all. So no los podemos ver hoy. Podemos is our conjugated verb. That's the we can't part. So we're putting los right before it. Or we can attach los to the infinitive. No podemos verlos hoy. Either one of them. One of them is not more common than the other. It's totally personal preference on how you want to use them. One more example is they're going to love us. So ellos nos van a amar. Us is the direct object. They're going to love who? Us. So ellos nos van a amar or ellos van a amarnos. Okay, there are some verbs that generally take a direct object pronoun even if it sounds like you wouldn't use one. So we'll practice this more in class. So it says, for example, saber, okay, which means to know. So we have an example conversation here. It says, Ana extraña a sus amigos. And then you would answer with, sí, lo sé. So you're saying, Ana misses her friends. And if you were to say, yes, I know, you actually have to say, yes, I know it. Sí, lo sé. Preguntar, which means to ask a question, is the same way. So, no sé el número de teléfono de Olga. Puedes preguntarlo. So it's saying, I don't know Olga's telephone number. And you can say, well, you can ask for it. You're really saying you can ask her for it. Okay? And so the it has to be there. Even if you just said in English, we can get away with saying, you can ask. But in Spanish, you have to say, you can ask it. Next verb that takes a direct object pronoun quite a bit is ser. You've never probably realized this, but it says, él es muy perezoso, ¿no? Okay, so he's very lazy. No, there is like saying, right? And you're saying, yeah, it's true. Sí, lo es. You're saying it is it. I'm sorry, he is it, is what you're really saying. Yes, he is it. The lo there is actually replacing the idea of being lazy. Okay, so that's kind of new this year. And then estar as well, along with saber, takes the direct object pronoun. So Carlos está muy enfadado. So here we're talking about emotion. So we're saying Carlos is very angry, and you say, sí, lo está. He is it. So in English we don't say it that way, but in Spanish we have to. Okay, so a real quick review, un resumen. So direct objects answer what questions after the verb. So they answer two questions. They answer whom or what. The next thing says, the next point says direct object pronouns take the place of direct objects. Okay, we know that. So what are they in Spanish? And we know that they are me, te, lo, la, nos, os, los, las. Those are all directs. So where do they go in a sentence? They can go in two places. They can go before a conjugated verb, or if you have a legal infinitive in your sentence, they can be attached to the infinitive. And I'm sorry, that's cut off on the bottom there, but it does say if there's a conjugated verb and an infinitive, they can be placed either before the conjugated verb or attached to the infinitive. The screen recorder didn't go down that far, I'm sorry. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to talk about are objetos indirectos, or complementos is another word for object. Complementos indirectos. So these are indirect object pronouns. So, first of all, what is an indirect object? Okay, we just talked about direct, so what's indirect? So it says, in addition to the direct object, the verb may also take an indirect object. After the verb, it answers the questions to whom or for whom. So it says, él le da el libro a María. Okay, so this is accompanying, and the indirect object pronoun is le. It's accompanying an indirect object, María. Okay, we are going to have both of them sometimes in the sentence, and you don't see that with direct object pronouns, but you do with indirects. You have to have the le. Okay, María is optional, but le is not. So another example, okay, would be yo les doy los libros. A los estudiantes is optional. Okay, so I'm giving the books to them. Okay, and if I want to clarify who les is, I would say a los estudiantes, but more about that in a little bit. Ella me dice la verdad. She tells me the truth. Okay, so she tells what? The truth is the direct object. To whom? To me. Okay, that's the indirect. And then the next one says, te doy el dinero. So I give what? The money is the direct object. To whom? To you. So te is your indirect, okay? We're not ready yet to start putting direct and indirect object pronouns in a sentence. Next semester, we'll learn how to say, I give it to you, okay? But we're not there yet. Right now, we're just going to do one and one, okay? We'll just replace one of them. All right, so what are the forms of the indirect object pronouns? So if somebody gives something to me, it's me, just like direct. If someone gives something to you, te. If someone gives something to him or to her, here's where they differ from direct, and that is le. If someone gives something to us, it is nos. If someone gives something to you all in Spain, os. And if someone gives something to you all or to them anywhere besides Spain, it would be les. Okay, so where do they go? They're going to be placed exactly where direct object pronouns are placed, either before the conjugated verb, que te dice tu hermana en tu texto. So what's your sister saying in the text to you? Okay, or it could be attached to the infinitive if there's also a conjugated verb. Okay, so same places. So, quiere decirme que no va a haber una boda. So it's saying she wants to tell me that there isn't going to be a wedding. So there isn't going to be the wedding is the thing that's the direct object. Me is the indirect. To me. Okay, so let's clarify le and les real quick, okay? So le can have many meanings. It could be to him, to her, to you. Les could be to them or to you all. So if we had the question, él le dio un beso, so did he kiss her? We may not be clear on who her is. So we could use a prepositional phrase. We could say a and a person to clarify. So yes, he kissed her, meaning to Ana. A Ana, no a Julia. And that would clear up what le is. Okay, so you might see that prepositional phrase accompanying the indirect object pronoun for clarity. Okay, so we will stop there, and remember that if you didn't take notes, you need to go back, watch again, take notes in your Spanish notebook, and then fill out the Google form and submit to receive credit for watching the video. Hasta luego!